Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and love this group coming in to involve two of my colleagues that I've known for a long, long time, and they're Sports San Diego. Nancy Rohland-Heinrich is the president of the board of directors. How you doing, Nancy?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here today, Drew.
Oh, I'd love to see you across the dial over here. And Marc Sawyer, my good friend Marc Sawyer, who I worked with many times, and his wonderful father, Doug, on much of projects. And Doug, and I got to do some things when he was at the B of A and all that business. And Marc is the vice president of external affairs for Sports San Diego. Good to see you, Marc.
Long time no see, Drew. It's happy to be here. Thanks
yeah, absolutely. Marc doesn't age, and that's just not fair. I'll go with this. I'm honored to have as my guest co-host, Chloe McNairn. She is a student that's an exchange from Scotland, but she's taking journalism and media studies course at San Diego State. I was honored to be able to speak in her class, and she certainly was foolishly wanted to connect and see what we're doing in the podcast, and she's been a great job co-hosting. And I know Chloe has a question for you folks right off the gate.
Hey guys, what is your mission as an organization?
Yeah, so Sports San Diego has been around for over 45 years. It started out just as the Holiday Bowl, and now it's grown. Sports San Diego's mission is pretty simple. It's to drive economic benefit for San Diego. So through sports, we try to drive as many visitors to our town for whatever sporting events we're putting on. Again, it started with the Holiday Bowl 45 years ago, and now through our other owned and operated events and events we recruit to San Diego. Short version is we're trying to put as many heads in beds and butts in seats as possible.
And you're succeeding in that area. And Nancy, this is your first year as president of the board of directors. How's it going?
It's going great. I've been passionate about the Holiday Bowl and what Sports San Diego has been doing, and have been involved as a spectator and a volunteer and a redcoat and a board member for a number of years. And so it's just a wonderful culminating experience and such an honor to be a president of one of San Diego's best nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, it really is. And you've been a sports fan since your young days in Minnesota, correct?
Absolutely.
So this is right into your wheelhouse. There's not enough sport. I don't know if there's a sport you dislike, for God's sake. Maybe Australian rules football. I'm not sure. But you probably like that as well. How important is it to be a sports lover to be in the position you're in?
Well, it's probably unusual. A lot of the past presidents have been athletes, played at the collegiate level. Some have played at the professional level. And I have been a sports enthusiast since my young days, brought up in a family where going to ice hockey, football, basketball, baseball was just part of our lives. That's what our family did together, was go to sporting events. And when I came to San Diego, I wanted to continue that tradition, and my family does that now as well.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Chloe has another question for you folks.
What is the real impact you've seen on San Diego with your organization?
Man, that's how much time you got?
We got 3 hours.
Oh, perfect. Let's go. I mean, the impact is huge. So we always work directly with the city and all the hoteliers and everyone in town to say, where can we make our largest impact? And there's a lot of different ways to drive visitor demand. We use sports as our platform to do that. Again, with 45 years of history with the Holiday Bowl, we've realized avid fans like Nancy, growing up being a fan of sports teams, want to travel to go watch their teams play another game wherever it is. And really, we're Sports San Diego. We're only 3 or 4 years old as a brand name. We've been around for 45 years, but Sports San Diego was born out of your question of how can we expand the impact we're already having? We're putting on one game a year. normally the question I would get is, what do you do the other 364 days a year? And we realized this blueprint of the Holiday Bowl really is something that can be scalable, and we can look to see what other events can we produce that can drive the same demand. So whether it's the Rady Children's Invitational basketball tournament we put on here on Thanksgiving weekend, whether it's the Holiday Bowl, the California State Games, which is the largest youth Olympic-style sporting event in the state of California, to the recruiting events we're bringing to town like NASCAR next year, those result in hotel revenue and transient occupancy tax and money straight to the bottom line to the city that ends up impacting. You had Mark Cafferty in here earlier talking about the jobs and education. All that pull through of that funding gets pumped directly into the city, which is a byproduct of people enjoying sports. And we found a way to tap into that. And our goal now is to expand what we're doing. Right now, we're generating, to give you an idea of how we measure ourselves, it's hotel room nights. So for 40 years, we put on the Holiday Bowl. A good year, we'd be generating 20,000 room nights for the city of San Diego during that 1 week that the teams would come to town. In our first full year as Sports San Diego, last year, 2024, kind of that calendar year, we went from that 20,000 that the Holiday Bowl was generating to 150,000 as Sports San Diego. So you can see 8x what we were doing before when we realized we could take that individual event model and scale it. So that's where the major impact is happening, because that results in $185 million worth of economic impact to San Diego. And just not to mention all of the awareness that comes with putting our great city on the national and international map.
Yeah, there's no question about that. We're chatting with Marc Sawyer, Vice President of External Affairs for Sports San Diego, joined by his colleague Nancy Rohland-Heinrich, President of the Board of Directors. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're in our 20th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in our region, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's the art and all that business. Nancy, you come from a cold weather state, okay, to say the least. Mark does not, nor did Drew. What difference does this make when you are working with bringing different events to San Diego when you have our climate?
It's huge. Tourism is a very important part of our economy. And a lot of people now, whether they're, traveling as a couple, whether they're traveling with their family, they try to work athletic events around their trips and vacations. And we are trying to leverage that. And for instance, in the upcoming Rady Children's Invitational, we do have Florida Gators, Wisconsin Badgers, Providence Friars, and TCU Horned Frogs. But Wisconsin has bought as many tickets right now as tickets sold for California. So when you live in cold weather states, when you have opportunities to attend premier sporting events and follow your teams, people will do that. They have loyal fans. They travel well.
Yeah, I want to brag about that. And Nancy, thank you for inviting me for the last couple. That was done at UCSD. You're moving it now to the Jenny Craig at USD. What a beautiful venue that is as well. And you folks nailed it. So well organized. It was fun. It was a hip to everybody's hop in that aspect. And really, credit to you folks and Mark, the folks behind the scene, that you have a very small but nimble and hardworking staff, to say that. You can't see this, but Mark is laughing right through the internet in this aspect of it. But seriously, as long as I've worked with you folks, and I've worked with you folks, for a long time, as you know, you've always been that way. It is job one. Get whatever job is done, whether it's a Holiday Bowl parade, whether it's Rady Children's, basketball tournament. Talk about the ethos just of Sports San Diego.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier. What we pride ourselves on most is the hospitality we provide, and you've known every executive we've had, whether it's been Mark Neville, Bruce Pinkowski,
right.
And all of them.
John Reed, right, exactly.
If we're going to put on an event, we're going to put on the best in the business.
Right.
And not only does that event excellence come through, it shines through because of the guest experience we're trying to create, whether it's an 18-year-old football player getting off an airplane and having a red carpet mariachis rolled out for them the moment they get here. We have a reputation of being the most hospitable bowl, and by proxy, city, when it comes, if we're a destination and if you're shopping your event and you say, where should we take it? You alluded to it. San Diego is a pretty nice place. It's always going to be on the top of the list because of the climate we have. But if you combine that with the excellence that our team has been able to put forth, in terms of the event production side, it is something to brag about. And I think it's opened new doors for us beyond just putting on the Holiday Bowl and the Rady Children's Invitational. People have said, hey, they know what they're doing. Let's see if we can do some new things and bring more to that city. And Sports San Diego has been challenged in a lot of different ways. Sports San Diego, I mentioned, used to just be the Holiday Bowl. And then once the pandemic hit and we had an event cancellation back in 2021, we've had to pivot a lot of different times. And we spent 40 years building reserves, upwards of $3 million. And after a couple tough years, we went through all of them. And at the time, our executive now, Mark Neville, realized, hey, we got to start looking at this differently. And that's where Sports San Diego was born, saying, hey, let's really look at this blueprint and make sure we're doing the best we can for our city, but also make sure that we are putting our best foot forward as an organization, which is through event production.
Absolutely right, Nance.
I was just going to mention that I think there's two things that are kind of the secret sauce of the success of originally the Holiday Bowl, Poinsettia Bowl, and now Sports San Diego. But one, the level of engagement of community leaders has been tremendous, whether as sponsors, but many people are aware of what was called the red coats. Now we call them ambassadors, but we've got well over 100 dedicated volunteers who work with us year round, whether it's to, generate visibility for any of the events that we're putting on, really volunteering over that time. Many people giving 30, 40 hours between Christmas and New Year's to put on the Holiday Bowl. I think that group, after 10 years, they can become lifetime members. But the people that were active 30 years ago are still active today. And it's an important part of their lives. And it's a lot of people who were in leadership roles, executive positions, who just happen to be huge sports fans. And they get themselves, their organizations, their families involved. And that, I think, has made a huge difference. All of the amazing volunteer capacity, and people love doing it.
Absolutely. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about the iconic Holiday Bowl, and then maybe Mark, you can just talk about some of the challenges that are happening these days with certainly everything that's going on with football playoffs, with NIL. That is a 15-day discussion. You and I should have some
transfer portal.
Pick a topic on that.
Right.
When we return with Marc Sawyer, Vice President of External Affairs for Sports San Diego, joined by his colleague Nancy Rohland-Heinrich, President of the Board of Directors. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 60 years of doing great things in San Diego County with our friends from Sports San Diego. Nancy Rohland-Heinrich, President of the Board of Directors for Sports San Diego, joined by Vice President of External Affairs, Marc Sawyer, and my guest co-host, Chloe McNairn. She's a student at San Diego State, has a question for you folks.
As a visitor here in San Diego, can you tell me a bit about the Holiday Bowl?
Oh my goodness. Best question of the day. So the Holiday Bowl started in 1978. It is a postseason college football game that is played every year, usually in December. We'll get to that, why I said usually in a second. But it is, it's the biggest football game of the year in San Diego for sure. And there are about 40 postseason bowl games across the country. It's at the end of the season when college football, all sports attention of the world is focused on college football. And we invite schools. We are in a contract right now with the Pac-12 conference and the ACC. Those two conferences provide us each a school, and they will face off in San Diego. But it's really a full week of festivities. We bring the teams to town and we put on a bowl week for them where the teams and their front office and their official travel parties are treated to the best of San Diego has to offer. We take the teams to SeaWorld. We take them on an active naval carrier to see the life of the Navy sailors here in town, because obviously the military is such a huge part of our community, and we make sure it shines through in all of our pageantry of our game. And then game day itself is pretty special, whether it's the pregame tailgating that's happening traditionally to college football, to our pregame show, which has flyovers and Navy leapfrog parachute jumpers and fireworks and college band performances. All the pomp and circumstance and pageantry that comes with college football is really unrivaled in sport. Kind of one of the few untainted areas of sports, I would say, these days. And then the football is played, and we are known as one of the most exciting bowl games, always have been. Drew, we were talking off air about the 1980 game. There's never a shortage of amazing stories that come out of this game, including last year. We had one of our highest scoring games in history. It's very rarely that defense comes to our game, which I'm fine with defense staying at home when it comes to the Holiday Bowl. But this year's game is January 2nd. First time in our history we have a non-December game. We are incredibly excited about this. Drew, you mentioned it before we went to break. With the expansion of the college football playoff, and we can get into all the challenges of the Holiday Bowl, but with the expansion of the college football playoff, there's now more competition of when we're going to play a football game, what else is on air that night? And now there's quarterfinal matchups of the college football playoff. We wanted to make sure our sponsors like National University and Nancy and everyone else that gets their attention that night the attention isn't elsewhere and on someone else's game. So we had the opportunity with our broadcast partner, Fox Sports, to say, hey, when might we be able to have this game be in its own time slot at a time that's not competitive? And January 2nd, which is a Friday, was open at 5 p.m., which, again, we talked about tourism earlier. Friday night, historically, is a very good travel night because it means that fans will stay through the weekend. But more importantly, the Holiday Bowl historically has been December 27th, 28th, 29th, which means fans that want to travel have to make a decision about Christmas. Do I want to have Christmas at home and then have a short trip to San Diego, or have Christmas in San Diego? Now our fans this year get to have their Christmases at home, then come out late December, and then have a very long, I would expect this to be probably our largest economic impact, matchup dependent, that we've ever had, just the way that the calendar is falling. So January 2nd, I associate college football with January 1st, New Year's Day, historically. So we kind of get to be right in that halo effect of all the biggest football.
Right. And I'm going to encourage our fans and friends and listeners to know, get your tickets soon. This will sell out. It'll sell out quickly. And as Mark mentioned, the matchups, certainly you want to see who's going to play. But the bottom line is it's going to be an exciting game. If you are a college football fan, it's a must-to-do on this. I got a question for you, Nancy, in this area. I know you are involved in so many different organizations. You and I sit on a bunch of boards together, Junior Achievement, Classroom of the Future Foundation, the Council on Literacy. But you always speak so highly of Sports San Diego. And it's folks like Mark, hate to patronize you, but you are sitting across from me, and I've always been very fond of the work you've done. Of course, Mark Neville, and all these folks. Talk about how unique and how special the Sports San Diego staff is.
They are just amazing because, one, they all have in common, I would say, a love for events and, high-end customer service, fan experience, but just an amazing dedication. These are people that are willing to give up their Thanksgivings, willing to give up their Christmas, their families. You have to be in a family who's very tolerant of all of your dedication to make these happen. And, amazing people over the years. I knew Bruce Benkowski. In fact, Bruce's son is married to one of my staff members, Lindsay.
Go Rocky.
And, they make it easy to want to be involved with the organization. And it's such a unique group of volunteers and ambassadors that are involved because you take every major organization in the city and your people like the person who will take over as president for me next year is Roger Doherty from Kaiser Permanente. And Roger and I sit on a number of boards and things together. But it's kind of that person from the organization that is the most active with community relations and outreach, who also happens to be a huge sports fan. And the staff, at the organization work so closely and they're so aligned with let's make this the best ever. And that's what happens. And, we are told by visiting teams at all levels and their fans, like, we have never been treated so well. They just love that experience where they feel special having had the opportunity to participate in this events. And that's driven by the CEO, the leadership at Sports San Diego, and certainly all of the ambassadors and red shirts.
Well, listen, Mark, it's great seeing you. It's been way too long. And so we'll start ramping this up even more. Wishing you and all the folks at Sports San Diego nothing but continued great success as you folks do. And Nancy, one more thing you can mark off as being a president of Sports San Diego. Who knows what you're going to be your next deal will be. And I know this is going to be a phenomenal Holiday Bowl, January 2nd. Great Rady Children's Invitational as well. USD Jenny Craig Pavilion this year. And I do encourage our listeners, if you want to get involved, you want to get engaged with Sports San Diego, go to the website. They're accommodating. They can't have enough volunteers helping themselves out. So Marc Sawyer and Nancy Rohland-Heinrich, thanks for joining us. And this will not be the last time we'll have you on the show.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you. And buy your tickets for Rady's Children's as well.
Absolutely. I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 20th year now, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and Chloe McNairn. Another fine job of being a co-host. We appreciate it. And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.